Okay, so here we are, the last presentation, the last session, the last day. So thank you all, and thank you all for persisting and staying around. We've got some real hardcore conference attendees here, so thank you for that. I'd like to talk today a little bit about QPM Energy, and what we're doing with a project called the Murar Gas Project, which we acquired in August last year. It's a very interesting project which we've been building, turning around and building progressively, and I want to provide a bit of an update and overview of what we've done, where we're going, and what the future holds for the business. Okay, QPM, as the core focus of QPM is developing and growing our Murar Gas Project. That project is actually an integrated gas and electricity production and supply business. So it actually is a full supply chain. We produce gas, we sell gas, we also transport gas to Townsville, and we generate electricity which we dispatch into the NEM. So we're actually an integrated energy producer. The company, as many of you would be aware, was founded around a nickel refinery project in Townsville. That project has just received $16 million of government grant funding, which has allowed us to continue to advance the work on that project towards commercialisation without impacting the business itself. Our focus is firmly around driving our energy business, but we do think that the nickel project will have its time. It's not today, but we're going to be ready and well positioned for that project and for value for shareholders when nickel has its inevitable next bull run. So it's an interesting package of assets, but really it's an energy business, not a metal business at this point in time. So the Murar Gas Project is kind of an interesting project. It was really developed back in 2004, and it was developed, it was located in Murar in the central Queensland coal district. It's the heart of the Bowen Basin. Produces coal from gas from coals in the Murar area, and delivers gas to Dyno Nobel, who make explosives, make hydrogen actually, and then ammonium nitrate in Murar. And gas was also transported about 400 kilometres to Townsville, where we run and dispatch the gas-fired Townsville power station, which is a 240 megawatt power station. It's a significant project. So it's been in production for over 20 years. We own 100% of 4 petroleum leases in the Murar area. It's about 500 square kilometres. It's a very large land package. We're currently producing around 30 terajoules of gas a day, about 11 petajoules a year, and that's growing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. We have about 120 producing wells. And we have recently upgraded the reserve position here, so we have 331 petajoules of 2P reserves. Just to put it in context, and I know this is a mining conference, but to try and get some sense of it, a petajoule of gas, 1 petajoule of gas at $12 a gigajoule, which is a price in Eastern Australia at the moment that's been set by our Energy Minister, is worth about $12 million. So 331 of them is something like $3.5 billion of gas in the ground. Now it's important to note this is all within granted petroleum leases. We have all our environmental approvals. We are producing now and we're drilling now. So this is reserves that are producible, accessible and connected to market. We also have, as part of this project, a very extensive gas gathering and processing infrastructure. 500 kilometres of gas gathering water pipelines, 150 kilometres of electricity distribution which we use to power the field. We have a long-term gas supply agreement with Dyno, and Dyno have been a big supporter of us as we've moved through the acquisition and development of this asset. We have actually, interestingly, a very large main compressor station which compresses the gas from the field and injects it into the pipeline to Townsville. It's got a 64 terajoule a day capacity, which we're only using a fraction of. We are the only shipper on this pipeline. We are the only party who has infrastructure and production that can get into the pipeline, so we do control a very significant not only infrastructure but energy system in North Queensland. The pipeline itself, it's a very substantial asset. It's got 108 terajoules a day. I'm sorry, I'm talking about terajoules and petajoules, but these are the gas market metrics. gas from Moranbah to Townsville. It's got a very significant storage capacity. And I guess it's like a battery that can store and discharge energy over 30 hours, and that's storing gas and running that through the Townsville power station. So it's a very, very big energy storage asset, and I don't think people fully understand how significant that is in the current electricity market, where you need to be able to store energy and then dispatch it at the right time. Townsville Power Station is a 240 megawatt power station, and we have control of that asset and dispatch directly into the national electricity market. I just wouldn't mind just having a bit of a look at the history of this thing, just to give you a sense of where it's been. So it was originally developed in 2004 by a company called CH4. I was a founder of that company, so I know a little bit about it. And the project was developed to supply gas to Townsville and to that power station running base load, which it did for many years. So it was a very successful development in the early 2000s through to about 2008, 9, 10. When it was bought by Arrow Energy, and then Arrow was bought by Shell and PetroChina in the big coal seam gas boom in the 2008 to 10 period. Shell and PetroChina paid about $3.5 billion for Arrow at the time, which was a large portion of that was this project. Unfortunately, things haven't gone well. And you can kind of see that the field production has really just steadily declined over that last period up until we took it over, and we've managed to kick production and turn it around, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a sec. But you can see the capacity, the latent capacity in the asset, both in terms of production capacity and infrastructure, to produce at almost twice what we're currently producing at without any further infrastructure investment. Interestingly, a little aside there on the right-hand side of this slide, the field's produced about 230 odd petajoules. We've still got 330 to go. It's a half a TCF gas field already, so it's a very significant gas field in the context of Queensland. And we suspect, we know, that there's more gas than the 331 in this field. Just a little bit focusing on the last 5 years, and the industry talk around this asset for a long time has been it's a mature asset, it's declining. And it's actually not, in my view and in our view, and we've now shown this, the thing that's declining is not production, it's actually just producing well count. So the blue squares are the number of producing wells, and the red line is actual production. You can see there's a straight correlation. We took over in, as I said, August last year, and what we've done, one of the key things we've done is actually just start to bring wells back online. And you can see the almost instant impact, and it's not surprising that we've managed to take production from 23 terajoules a day back up to 30 terajoules a day, and we're still going. And if you actually have a look at this in a little bit more detail, what we're finding is most of the wells are not declining at all, they're flatlining. So this is a mature field, a mature stable field, not a mature declining field. And by us being able to demonstrate this clearly, that's really been the driver of the reserve upgrade that we announced a couple of months ago. But we think there's way more to go in this, but just to give you a bit of a snapshot of what we've been able to achieve in really only the last 10 or 11 months, and it's quite astounding. So the turnaround, it was a genuine turnaround, and it still is a genuine turnaround opportunity. We transitioned to operatorship, so we started with nothing. We were a small company. We're now an operator operating a pretty big project. We have hundreds of wells. We're turning over 8 to 10 million a month. It's a big business. We went from zero to that almost overnight, but we've done it successfully. We've increased the producing well count towards 130, production up, reserves up. We're now in our first new drilling campaign. We've just completed the first of our 7 wells, actually, which has been gone very, very well. Very pleased with the way that's going. And the aim of that program is to start to demonstrate that we can continue to grow production from new wells drilled basically in and around the existing field. And what this is doing is accessing gas that is been bypassed or is there, that we know is there, and we're going to be able to, I'm confident that we will show that there is a lot more gas in this field, and I think that will provide the platform for a further reserve upgrade. Dyno Nobel, I mentioned earlier, it's our foundation customer. They have worked with us very closely to facilitate the transaction and support us, including offering us or providing an $80 million development funding facility, which this program is being funded through. Program will cost us about $25 million, and we're right in the middle of that now. So our program and our growth profile is fully funded. We've had a few challenges, obviously. We've had some fires, both on the surface and underground, unfortunately. We've had floods and plagues, but we're still going. And I will talk briefly about the Grosvenor mine incident, which has impacted us, not materially, but it is something that needs to be talked through. This is reserves. 331 2P, up from 240 when we bought the asset. We have, as I mentioned, about 100 petajoules of that reserve has been contracted to Dyno. The rest is uncontracted. So it makes it one of the largest uncontracted reserve positions in Eastern Australia currently. And there are many opportunities for us to grow production and reserves. So we're looking at growing offtake for that gas through generation, more electricity generation in Murar, regional distribution from Murar, working in Townsville through the Townsville Power Station. And ultimately, we think there is scope to underpin a major new pipeline development south from Murar connecting into the Gladstone or the Eastern States gas market. Now, we're a little way away from that. We need a bigger reserve position, but that's really, we think, an exciting opportunity here for us. I'll just mention briefly the Grosvenor mine fire. That pink area there is the outline of the Grosvenor mine workings, and the incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, just down there on the southeastern corner. It hasn't, so it doesn't impact us in any material way in terms of reserves. We have title to all of the gas, and we weren't operating within the pink area in any event because they'd been mining there. I will say a couple of things. Firstly, this is the second incident at this mine in the last 4 years, second major explosion. And it's showing us what we know, that there's way more gas in this system than we anticipate. The reason is that mine, where that mine is the earliest part of the field that was developed. So there's been wells producing gas from here for 20 years, and guess what? There's still dangerous levels of gas when they're mining the same seams that we've been producing gas from. So this, whilst it's a massive disaster, and we're very thankful that there's been no injuries or incidents, but it's showing that there is way more gas here in this system, even in the oldest parts of the field. So we're actually positive about this. Unfortunately, it's a tragedy, but it's quite a positive indicator for us. Next 12 months, production up. And that's through our own wells and other initiatives, including new mine waste gas supply opportunities. Our system is connected into a number of mines that are draining gas currently. We are renegotiating our contracts for the pipeline and power station, which I think will lead to a material cost out for the business. Moving our generation development options, more distribution locally, but really importantly, grow our reserve and resource base. So we've got a lot on our plate. It's a very, very interesting project, and I really do appreciate you sticking to the very bitter end. Thank you so much.